in this video, I wanted to discuss one of the scenarios I faced regarding AWS Lambda function. So my requirement was like I had to develop an AWS Lambda function which had to fetch data from an external API over the internet and store into RDS PostgreSQL database. So, so obviously my function had to have access to both the RDS database and internet. So what I did initially, I put this function into the same VPC as my RDS database. Okay, so my VPC was having 6 subnets and I had initially placed all 6 subnets here. Okay, but there was some problem. I'll discuss same with you. Okay, why I had to remove those. So my initial VPC that was having 6 subnets and I had placed all of them here. So with that thing, my RDS database was accessible, and but still the API call was getting timed out. It was apparently because the Lambda function did not have internet access, right? It did not have internet access. So I had to give access to Lambda function through NAT gateway. So I had to create a NAT gateway under the same VPC which was available to the Lambda instance. Okay, so I created that NAT gateway under one of the subnets, one of the 6 subnets of that VPC. Okay, so please remember that this NAT gateway thing is chargeable. It costs around $30 to $40 per month. Okay, just for your information. Okay, so it allows the resources which are there in private subnets, private network to access the internet. So after creating the NAT gateway, the next step was to create a route table and associate the routes in that route table to have NAT gateway. Okay, so the route table will route us to internet through NAT gateway. That is one thing, and I had to associate some subnets to that route table. Okay, so initially I had associated all the subnets here. All the out of 6, I had associated 5 subnets because one of the subnets I had used to create the NAT gateway, so I excluded that. Rest of the 5 subnets I had included here, and I had included them here also. Okay, so that setting did solve my issue of API calls getting timed out. So API calls started working fine, but my connections to the RDS database from outside, like from a laptop, like we use the tools like DBeaver or PgAdmin to access the RDS database, those started getting timed out. Okay, so apparently these subnets became sort of private, all the subnets. Okay, so to mitigate that, what I had to do, I had to, in place of the 5 subnets, I had to place only 2 subnets here. Okay, this is very important. I had to place 2 subnets here, and same 2 subnets I placed here. Okay, against my Lambda function. Okay, so meaning that I left around 4 subnets for my RDS to be accessible from outside. Okay, so with this setting, I was able to my Lambda function was able to do the RDS database connection. It was able to connect to the external API through internet, and also I was able to access the RDS database from outside. Okay, so this thing is very important. NAT gateway had to be created under one of the subnets of the same VPC, and the route table which will be pointing to that particular NAT should be having the subnets which will belong to the same initial VPC, and those 2 subnets have to be placed here under the API under the Lambda function. Okay, not all the subnets. So this will make sure that the intended purpose is solved.